All right, welcome back to another episode of the Coaches Show, joined with head coach Britt Hoelting as we head into the playoff season. But we got to get to that big 24-7 victory over Cheney last week before we look ahead forward. Coach, that was a great win. A lot of different ways you can talk about that game, but overall a great win to propel the Greenbacks into the most important time of the season.
Yeah, obviously great when anytime you can beat a program like Cheney, who's arguably been a top 2-3 program in 3A the last 10 years, along with obviously Andale, Hayden, and probably Cheney are the three that you think about for championships. Been up there every year, and Coach Wehrman's a tremendous coach, and they got a lot of really good kids. A really physical game. I thought I was really proud of our kids and how they battled through adversity. I mean, we had injuries. We were dropping like flies, and it was no kid ever panicked on the sideline. It was next man up. Hey, we're moving positions all around. Hey, go in and play football. And then I thought our defense was lights out. We gave up one play. Other than that, they had less than 100 yards offense. So really credit to them. Credit to Coach Miller, Coach Titus, Coach Gallagher, our defensive staff, everybody. We all work together. So really proud of our guys and our coaches.
Yeah, that defense, after carrying over a great performance from Clearwater the week before, knew it was going to be needed in that Cheney game. And like you said, with the exception of that one deep ball from Toller, the Greenbacks really held them in check. A 14-7 lead at halftime, and the Greenbacks really second half on, other than that one play, I mean, it was just a total win for the Greenbacks on all sides of the ball. Playing in those conditions, it was a wet one Friday night. Really the first one we've seen this season where you got to think maybe the weather comes into factor. How did you guys deal with that and really not let it be a factor?
For sure. I mean, it did a little bit. We had, going back on offense, I think we scored 24, which isn't bad, isn't great for what we've done. But their defense hadn't allowed. I think they'd allowed over 20 once all year. But then looking back, every single drive was either penalty or bad snaps. We didn't have a drive that they got us just by getting a stop. We didn't have a penalty or something, or a few bad snaps. So I was proud of our offense there. What we did was we cut up a tremendous amount of towels. We have 2 ball bags, and we put all of our old ones in one to warm up with. Put all the ones that could potentially even be game balls. I had the officials check 10 balls, and we kept them in a tote on the sideline. And so that way we kept them dry. Jace and Cannon and our ball boys did a good job of keeping the balls dry that we were using. But then every time I told our kids, if a ball gets too slick, tell us. We're getting it out. We're getting a new one in the rotation. So that way we can have as dry of a ball as possible. Still hard. Sometimes, we were talking about it. Coach Strong and I were talking. It's harder when it's misting like that because the water tends to stick on the ball than if it's raining really hard and the ball just gets sometimes a little heavier, but it doesn't get as slick almost as the mist. So I thought our kids did a good job, again, of handling the conditions. I think they had fun in it.
Yeah, those are the games you remember.
Yeah, it was a game you remember in a lot of ways. So I thought our kids did a good job handling it and doing what we had to do, not turning. We didn't have any turnovers, so that was huge.
Yeah, and that's a stat we were noting in the press box even during that game. And Cheney, 1 of 10 on third down conversions is what we had him for, and that third down efficiency that the Greenbacks were able to have. And then again, that defense being able to hold the Cardinals to only 1 third down conversion was huge. 162 total yards allowed. And like you said, a lot of them came from that one play, Toller to McDaniel on the deep ball, and then. Again, through the air. Thought Toller was going to have a big game. He's had a great season coming into it. 8 of 28 is what we had him for in that ball game. So really able to keep a great athlete in check. I mean, you look at Toller play, just his play throughout the season, and then even in warm-ups we were watching him and thinking, man, this kid is an athlete. And I said it to, I think, Coach Batten before game. I said, we've got to be careful to not think just because Josh Burdick isn't on this team anymore that there's going to be a drop down at the quarterback position. And Toller is exceptional back there.
And you've seen the run they've had, which when you have that's credit to athletes and then coaching. They do a really good job of coaching up their quarterbacks. Toller, I mean, he fits the bill in every way. He's 6'4", 205, 210, whatever he weighs. Looks like a stud. Can really spin it. Throws it well. Can make all the throws. I mean, down the field, underneath. So and then can make plays with his legs. He'd hurt so many people taking off and running, and he's really fast as well. So we knew we had to keep him contained. And I thought, just again, credit. We went to a lot of 3-man fronts, and our D line we got several pressures and sacks on 3-man fronts without blitzing anybody, putting extra guys in coverage. Our guys stepped up. We said, hey, we were playing actually zone on the flea flicker, and we said, all right, hey, let's scrap it. I went to Coach Miller and said, hey, well, he said that was cover 3, and I said, let's scrap it. We're not as comfortable until they do something to hurt us in man. And we went straight man the rest of the game. And to me, that's the kids got to really rise to the challenge there. And so our kids did. Our D-backs take on that assignment every week, and they love playing man-to-man and locking people down, and it was awesome.
And that was a game they needed to rise to the challenge. In the secondary there, Strong and Titus and Tebow, probably missing a few there too, but they had some great plays, keeping Toller in check. And Cameron Cox. And then you mentioned that 3-man front. 7.5 tackles for loss for that front 3 for the Greenbacks. Madden Wilson leading the way. He had 2.5 tackle for losses on that defensive line. And he's turned into a great player for this Greenback team, Madden Wilson. Sometimes those linemen don't get enough recognition, and there's enough personalities on this team that sometimes he's not at the top of the list as far as athletes and names you mentioned, but he has had a great season for this Greenback team.
He has come on. He had to work himself into shape a little bit, and he'll tell you that the first few weeks. I think the last 4 weeks he has been – he's turned everything around for us because he is so incredibly impactful. You don't find guys as big and as strong and then as quick as he is, and he's really doing a good job of using his hands. And on top of that, I want to say Madden's been an incredible leader for us. He has a great attitude every day in practice, but he was commanding a double, sometimes a triple team, and he was still beating it in the 3-man. So yeah, he collapsed the pocket from the middle, and any time remember, you always talked about when the Giants won the Super Bowls against Brady. How did they do it? They got pressure with 4, and they collapsed the pocket. Any quarterback, when you get to their feet and they can't step into their throws, they get really uncomfortable. And Madden did an incredible job of that all night on Friday.
Yeah, and then back to that secondary, the 2 INTs on the night came from Tebow and Strong, and they were tested. Cheney had some size on the ends, and Toller throwing him the ball. We knew it was going to be a test and a good matchup for that secondary going into that game, and they had a great game back there.
Yeah, and, you talk about Caleb. We've talked about. I've got all league stuff coming up next week. Like his numbers in terms of tackles, stuff like that, aren't fantastic. But he's the kid we say every week, hey, you're going to go on that receiver, the biggest, tallest, the best receiver they got, and lock him down. And he has done that without fail all year. He takes that challenge on. He loves that challenge. Levi Tebow, you mentioned, man, he came on and played incredible on Friday. He was all over the field, made a great tackle on a kickoff return that they had broke, had the interception that was sealed the game. Had several. They tested him deep, put him one-on-one with the Thomas kid who's a D1 prospect, and he was there every time. So yeah, really proud of those guys. They just make plays, and it's been fun to watch them grow throughout the season.
Now, we mentioned the weather earlier, and that was something everybody was keeping their eye on the later that game went on, because lightning felt like it was getting closer and closer, and is always a factor. And with that magnitude of a ball game, that's one that isn't going to be rescheduled till Saturday. At what point in that game did you feel comfortable enough that, okay, if there's a lightning delay now, I feel like maybe they'll say the game's the game?
Probably when we hit that field goal. Another thing, Levi,
Yeah.
Thought that field goal was really big. Because once we went up 3 scores and there was 7 minutes left or something, but 3 scores, 2, it's a quick score and an onside, and then all of a sudden, but you go up 3 scores, you felt a little better about it. But to be quite honest, to answer your question on that, I was, and I know you're going to be shocked when I say this, I was so I had no clue lightning was even remotely in the area. I was so locked in and so dialed in. And then when they announced right after the game, I was like, oh man, this is one of those fun games you want to stay on the field, and celebrate with everybody. But we got it done just in time. Just in time. So yeah, they didn't even call down and say, hey, lightning's getting close, do this or that. The whole second half, we came out, made all these adjustments. Like, okay, this is going to be open. This is going to be open. We're going to do this with Arlie doing this, whatever. And then Creston gets hurt the third play of the second half, and so we had to scrap everything and say, okay, we went, we got that second touchdown, went up 21-7. I was like, our defense is playing lights out. The ball's wet. We've had some snap issues. We're not going to do anything, put it in the air long, anything like that, where they can get an interception, get a strip sack. So we were pretty conservative in the second half, but even then we were grinding out first downs. Whatever our drives, we were just grinding them out. And so we kind of kind of tried to take the air out of the ball and get out of there as quick as we could.
Yeah, and it was well played. Some of those offensive numbers: 261 total yards of offense for the Greenbacks, 48 rush attempts. I don't know if that's the most of this season, but it's got to be up there close for rushing attempts for 183 yards on the ground. And Morrell was leading the way with some of the injuries. He had 23 carries, 54 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Liggett, 7 carries, 41 yards. Kyler Barker came in and had a great game after Liggett went down with the injury in the backfield, 9 carries for 70 yards. And then Caleb, the 1 catch for 33 yards and a touchdown. And back to Kyler Barker, him having to step up there in that role, had a huge game in the backfield. We've seen him in the backfield occasionally, but not the amount of carries and the workload that was put on him Friday night.
Well, and same thing, some of those yardage were skewed because, we had the bad snaps, and Arlie, there were a few times Arlie's numbers were better. He probably lost 30, 40 yards in bad snaps. I don't know, something. But Kyler, his vision is incredible. It's been great all year. He's been so good defensively, and we put so much on his plate defensively. We've tried to save him a little bit offensively, but that was one thing when Kyler stepped in, we had no qualms. Like, man, he's a really good tailback. I mean, he is. He's great. His vision's great. He's tough. He hits the hole hard, runs with conviction. So we have all the faith in the world in Kyler. It was one of those. I know after the game talking to him, he's like, my body hurts and it's never hurt like this.
That's a lot of that.
He
both
has such
sides
a
of
heavy
the ball.
load, right? He was walking pretty gingerly, which a lot of our kids were. It was like I said, it was a tough, hard hitting football game. Really good high school football game. So yeah, all the faith in the world in him. And then again, we had to move Arlie, and then all of a sudden, Gavin has to move over tight end. I mean, we had jigsaw pieces moving all around, and so really proud of our kids for stepping up. Never questioning, like, okay, hey, you need to go here now. Okay, here we go. Let's just keep playing. Josiah went out for a while in the second half, so just really proud of our kids and their effort and their toughness.
Last offensive note, talk about that field goal from Levi Tebow. He's been great on the extra points this season, and at some point we're wondering, are we going to see him with the opportunity to kick a field goal? And that down and distance and situation in the game just set up perfectly for him to try to fire one away and hit it.
Well, I heard Nostra Kelly, when I re-listened to the broadcast, make a prediction that we may try to kick one there. So, yeah, I got to make him right once in a while. No, we knew we were in range. Levi's range, 40 in. We feel pretty dang good about it, depending on what we do. Obviously, our offense has usually been really good, and so we're 4th and 5 or less, which we usually find ourselves in. We think the odds of us getting that are probably better than the alternative, and then scoring 7. So we've kind of held it back, but we have all the faith in the world in him. Great kick because the ball was wet.
Yeah.
We had a new snapper in because at the time Joe was getting his hands, worked on. So had a new snapper in, so the timing was a little different. He actually didn't get the laces turned around. Laces were facing him. So all of that being said, incredible kick, clutch kick from Levi, and a big one for us in the game. Thought, like you said, it was kind of one of those that put the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, in a game like that where every possession is so crucial, to be able to take it from a 2-possession game to a 3-possession game, it really proved to be the difference there. So the Greenbacks improved to 7-1 with that win. Let's get to some awards before we move on to some postseason talk. We'll start with ours. Timish Electric Player of the Game for us. Boy, Arlie Morrell, he just really carried the workload on the offensive end. We mentioned his 23 carries, 54 yards, 2 touchdowns, put a lot of pressure on that defensive front as well. It could have been, this is typical for every game. There's probably 4 or 5 kids that we're thinking of, boy, it could be him, it could be him. This game was no different, but Morrell's stats just really stood out with the multiple touchdown game for us.
Yeah, and he had some receiving, had a
Yep.
big reception first drive of the game. We gave it to Kyler Barker. We thought offensively Kyler Barker was awesome. Like you said, stepped in, 9 carries, 70 yards, really steadied us there. So thought Kyler deserved that. Thought his vision, picked up a couple really big first downs and big plays for us. We gave it to him. Like you said, could have gave it to several people. Defensively, you mentioned him earlier. Thought Madden Wilson was just incredible. I thought he controlled, they ran a trap first play of the game. They ran a trap towards the end. That was the only 2 times, and I think they got 2 yards combined, maybe 1 or 2. That was the only 2 times they tried to run in between the tackles all game, basically. And so I thought Madden just controlled things there, and I think they thought they couldn't because he was so dominant. Like you said, 2.5 tackles for loss. I think he had a sack and a half. He was awesome. So got our defensive player of the game. Levi Tebow obviously got our special teams player of the game. And again, another kid, him, Caleb, bunch of kids could have had our defensive player of the game. And then a scout team player of the week was Logan Schinkel. He's been doing a great job as a kid's starting to push for a little varsity time. Had a really big year in JV, and then so that was ours. And then our hit stick was Hudson Titus. Hudson Titus this week.
We have not been matched up on this one all season long. We thought for sure we didn't see Titus. I think we did, and we just forgot about it. It was one of those games that you can't hardly remember what happened a quarter ago because it's so exciting. So we were thinking afterwards, who had the best hit? So we just defaulted to Sebastian Beach this time because it seems like we've missed it every time. So this time we thought, well, I'm sure Bash had one somewhere on a kickoff that we missed. So by default, it went to Sebastian Beach. So apologies to Titus for missing that stick on that slant route because I remember it now that you said it. So he took home our Meade Lumber hit stick of the week, and then our Farm Bureau fan of the game went out to yours truly, Andrea Hoelting, your wife. It was her birthday that night.
It was.
And you can't not get the Farm Bureau fan of the game when it's a birthday night for the coach's wife.
Yeah, and she's gonna hate me talking about her, but I heard that, and that's awesome from you guys. I mean, Andrea is she's the glue that holds our family together, obviously. And then she if you know Andrea, she loves the kids unconditionally. She loves the football boys being a part. She makes like 7 dozen cookies, I think, something like that every weekend we win. Does Victory Monday cookies. She does everything, and I'm very blessed. Everyone knows that she carries us and is an awesome person, awesome coaching wife. So all the wives, I mean, really, you could give that to all of our coaching wives. I mean, we're to be able to do the things that we do and spend the time that we do. The wives have got to be incredible, and there's not a guy on my staff that doesn't have an incredible wife backing him up at home, and we're really, really blessed.
Yep. All right, moving on to first week of playoff action in the postseason. A common opponent, Chaparral. We face off with them again. Played them a couple weeks ago. The Greenbacks came away with a 35-0 win in that ball game. But anytime you got to play a team twice, it just is never the same. For whatever reason, they learn some things, we learn some things. So how do you go into that ball game with the mindset knowing that we've got to play this team again? They've seen what we do, and maybe a little dinged up after that Cheney game as well.
Yeah, we got some injuries. Again, it was a hard-hitting game, and so I think the hard part about that is guarding against human nature. Because I try to tell the kids, I read them several scores. Even last year, there were several, but Hayes and Great Bend. Great Bend got Hayes pretty good in the regular season. Hayes got them in the playoffs, and Great Bend beat them pretty bad. There was one a couple years ago. I think Oakley got beat by about 40 in the regular season, won in the playoffs. I told them in my experience, I think I'm 6-1 in rematch games in my career when we got beat by someone in the regular season and then played them again in the playoffs. That was after coming off a loss, not coming off a win. So I said it's hard, guys. It's hard to beat a team twice. A good team. Unfortunately for us, Chaparral's way underseeded. If you went by records, I think they would be the 10 seed.
Yeah, 5-3 record.
And they beat some really good teams, been in the game with some really good teams. They're a tough physical team. Coach Zeratic does a good job. So I think that's been our big thing this week. I think you always balance, they know what you do. So you put a few wrinkles in there that looks the same, that's maybe different. I think every team tries to do that. We know what they do. They're going to put some wrinkles in. So we've got to be vigilant for those, and we've got to play with correct fundamentals and get our reads right. So I think the big thing is it's playoff. Don't take anything for granted, because if you do, then you're going home. So I think our kids have had a good week of practice. I think they're ready and they're excited.
It should be a great night. Halloween night. It's been a long time since Pratt has hosted a football game on Halloween night, so should be a great one. That game will be at home here at Zerger Field, a rematch against Chaparral to see who keeps their season alive and whose season comes to an end. So get out there Friday night, tune in, however you choose to watch or listen to the game. We appreciate it. And as always, Coach, appreciate you sitting down with us.
Thank you.
All right, that'll do it.